G'day Dave, thanks for joining us for ECI BMX. ECI BMX? ECI TV, isn't
ECI TV? Yeah, how you going?
Yeah,
Thanks
too.
for having me. This is your program, yeah?
It's been a while. I think the last time we actually had an interview, you were on the show, must have been just before Christmas.
Yeah, it's with
Dane.
just before BSX with Dane.
Yep.
Just discussing a few things we were up to and that with All Track, so yeah.
And since then, the Sam Willoughby track has been officially opened.
Officially, unofficially.
Unofficially.
Yeah.
So tell us how come it's officially unofficially.
So officially it was open so that the government could sign off and have the finished product coincide with a cycling event that they had on. And so that's basically, it got pushed forward to get handed over so that they could sign that off. And yeah, so it coincided. I can't remember the name of, I could look it up, but I can't.
The Santos.
It's like the cyclist something, yeah.
Which is a cycling festival that's been going on for quite some time.
Correct. So they wanted to run that in line with it. And that's basically why it's unofficially handed over. So it was handed over for that specific day and that event, and the people in power did what they needed to do, and basically that's what happened. So
what still needs to be done at the track to get it to a point where everyone's happy for the sign off?
So at the time, well, back since October, they've been struggling to have asphalt contractors be able to come in and do the scope of works that's required for the turns. So that's basically the major problem, that we couldn't get asphalt, or Living Recreation couldn't organise asphalt contractors in time for this event. So basically, Marion Council said, look, this needs to happen. This is what we want to happen. So is there a way that we can make this event happen? And so basically, yeah, the hard surface was an idea that they went with, and the council approved, and said, look, if this is what needs to happen to make this event happen, then we'll run with that, and that's basically what happened. So
no one in a million years would have imagined that you get that kind of rainfall for the whole weekend in the middle of, what was it, January?
Yeah.
Or towards the end of January.
And in Adelaide especially, like the lead, like we, for the whole 3-4 months that we were in Adelaide building the track, let alone the guys doing the surfacing, it rained twice the whole time. And it's unheard of. They had a very wet winter, so that delayed the project a little bit, and obviously COVID. But there was no actual, as such, strict finish time that it has to be handed over for this date, because, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So basically it didn't become an issue until closer to the time where they were able to see that there was potential to have the event. And so they pushed to have it, and that's, where it's at now. But how could you ever think that it was ever going to rain like that, Like, it was unbelievable.
Because normally Adelaide's more like a desert, really, isn't it? It's very sandy.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's always dry and hot, and, even for practice, when we got there on the Thursday night, and it was awesome. Like, everyone there, beautiful sunset. It was just perfect, The track was holding up good. It was, the hot weather obviously didn't affect its, at the time,
yeah.
But yeah, after the Friday and all the practices, and everything was fine then, everything was fine. The track is tricky and difficult, and people were saying, it's hard to get used to. But we'd obviously, in Victoria, had just finished Track Attack, and everyone's, used to tracks that they've ridden for 10 plus years, and now they come to a new event, and, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So that's basically what happened, yeah.
So Sam and Elise were there for the official opening.
Yeah, correct. So
I followed a fair bit of their social media, and they seemed wrapped with, the view from the starting hill, the fact that the starting hill's completely accessible via wheelchair.
Yeah.
There were quite a few things that they pointed out.
Yeah.
As a track builder, what were sort of standout features for the whole facility for you?
It's funny, like walking in, there's like a massive car park that you walk in, and like when you yourself when you turn up to a national event, or like Narang and that. I know people were getting fines out in the streets.
Yeah.
So to hold an event, with so many people that you can basically park in the area, I think was good. Like I think they've thought different things out going into it. As for definitely wheelchair access, and because it is named after Sam, you would have to think that is going to be like the highlight, being able, for Sam to go up there and exactly what he did, know. But I guess for Sam, just to be able to come back to South Australia, and obviously him growing up at Happy Valley and racing Cove and all that sort of stuff, like to come to Sam Willoughby track, he's raced all over the world. Like that would be just like being at home for him. Like he walked in and he was blown away. He's like, where was this, 20 odd years ago when we were growing up, basically. So yeah, I think everything about it is, state of the art.
Yeah.
Like the start hills are next level, just with their electronics and their coverings, and just the ramp up, is easy for the riders, and it just all works.
So you dealt with Sam on an ongoing basis through the development of the track and through all the stages of the build. Did you get to talk to him about it once it was all finished? Yeah,
like we definitely wanted to include Sam in what we were doing, because there's no point us going out there and just building, a Dirt's design track, and it just doesn't work like that. I think the involvement in trying to get as many riders involved as well, and obviously Sam, I think it's pretty important, because he can give us more information than anybody else about what a track should be like, and what he expects of something that's named after him as well. So we did involve him where we could, and obviously he gave us sort of some ideas that he would like and stuff like that. But I heard that he still thought that things could be bigger and deeper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely, because that's him. Like he loves that style of riding. He would jump things and on things and off things, and so yeah.
Did you get much feedback from Elise? Did she get a chance to ride?
No, we never had. I don't think. Like when we contacted Sam, it was obviously either really late at night or early in the morning, the way it works with all the time zones. So I don't think Elise was really, she may have spoken to Sam about it, because we did send some, drawings and ideas to him, what we thought, because there was definitely things that he didn't like about the original design. Well, not that he didn't like it, but maybe he could see that it didn't work. So...
But when they were both in Adelaide...
definitely. Yeah. Like she was straight out there, because obviously Matt and his family still live in South Australia, and they all went out there. Matt rode it a lot before it actually got surfaced, and he loved it. He was a massive fan of it, and Elise was all about it. She loved it, because the same thing. That's where she's come from. She's She was a world champion. That's what she wants. She expects. They want good things. So yeah.
So with talking to council and everybody else, do you expect we will see a World Championship or a World Cup or something held there anytime soon?
Yes, there will be. I know there's a little bit of talk with Luke Medill and council, making sure that everyone is happy with what's going on. I know there's a few minor track changes that they want to do, and I do specify minor, because that's all it is allowed, basically. But there will be minor changes, and he'll sign off on it as a UCI accredited track, and then it will be absolutely 100% that they will have World Cups there for sure. Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. So there's probably a few people out there that think building a BMX track's pretty easy. You just need to know how to operate the equipment. How much has things changed? When it comes to track building, you need a lot more than just skills on equipment, don't you? There's a lot more to it.
I think skills is just one part of that's having Max work alongside me. So that's Max started racing when he was 6 years old, So that's 19 years experience that Max has in BMX. So that's, knowledge of distances between jumps and, his own ideas on heights and lengths and stuff like that. And also, having to follow a plan is a skill as well. Like follow a plan and actually build it to, and then be able to see what you think might be a little bit too deep or a little bit too short or in the wrong spot. But, there's definitely lots of little different.
So there's that level of skill as far as a rider's eye and being able to see changes. But what about driving the equipment, like
actually
yourself
building it
as a
itself?
civil engineer, building tracks rather than just some guy who knows how to operate a bobcat?
Well, it goes back to, you don't just spread dirt out and lay bitumen to make a road. There's processes you've got to go through, and we're the same. Like, the civil company that actually did the main earthworks there, they had to cut it out and build it up in layers to get it to our height, and then we had to do the same. So, knowing the stages and knowing how to actually build it up, and the product has to be of, they call it OMC, which is optimal moisture content. So, if a truck was coming in and it had rained or it was too hot, or, you have to look at these things and know what your material is like when it's coming out. And if it's not right, we have to knock it back, because we know, if we're wasting time hosing or waiting for it to dry, it doesn't work. So those little things that go into building a jump help, because, if it's too wet, it can sink. If it's too dry, same thing, like it doesn't compact. So, yeah.
So what's the hardest part of building a track of that size? Like, there's a whole lot of dirt that goes into, say, a corner, for example. Is it hard to get shapes when you're building on that kind of scale?
What's hard about building that track is having a pro straight and an amateur straight. So trying to get the right shape turn to suit everybody. So, you've got to stand back and think to yourself, okay, well, it's almost like who's more important in this situation? The guys coming down at 65 k's an hour and making sure that the apex that they hit, is going to send them to the right spot, and then hold them to get around to the first jump in the pro straight, or is it the amateur guys making sure, that they can get up and around? And so there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and it is very difficult. And it's easy for everyone to say, you just need to bowl it out more and do this and do that, but you've got to have a perspective for both riders. And anyone could just go and just dig that out, and it still wouldn't necessarily work, because you've got to be looking at it from both angles. And that's we tried our best, and that's what we did. We and like I said, if the asphalt turns had been there, I think it would have held every single rider how it's meant to be. But obviously, not having that, raised issues with those turns. But
So now that you've done something to that size, it's your first full track build, isn't it?
Official.
Would you be keen to jump onto the next full track build, or would you prefer touching up tracks or improving them?
Like personally for myself, I like doing like renovations or reworks, because a track can be good, but club members or whoever races there might think that it needs a little bit of change or something a bit different, and then when they use it and then they enjoy it, that's what I get more out of it, when it's that. Like that's definitely going to Adelaide and doing that, as awesome as it was, and that it definitely turned into a job, you know what I mean? It was a grind. It was a dealing with truck drivers and managing everyone on site to making sure that everything was running smooth, because that was another problem that we had over there, was that the trucks couldn't deliver the material when we needed it, so we had to find jobs to do while we're waiting for that material to come. And so I enjoy doing more renovation type stuff and resurfacing rather than massive projects, but still love doing getting involved in the big projects too.
So you were away from home for quite a while during
3 months.
Project. 3 months.
3 months, 3 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty solid. Yeah.
So did you start living the pro life and go to the gym and do any sprints?
I tried to, but I burned out pretty quick. Like at the start we got over there and we all had these grand plans that, because we were working pretty solid. We were working 6 days when we got over there, and we were doing sort of 7 till, or 7:30 till 4:30, 5 o'clock, and when we found out that we weren't, and that was to try and get the structure built and get everything, staying in line with, because we were already a little bit behind with everything, trying to stay in line with, projected time schedules. But we were just burning out. And when we found out that we were going to be over there for a lot longer, it was then we sort of took the foot off the pedal a little bit. We didn't do, every weekend. We did a Saturday if we needed to. We still did 7 till 4:30, which is still a big day. Yeah. And we literally had to make time for ourselves as well, because you know yourself, you can't. You're over there for 3 months. We need to have a life, because that's another thing that a lot of people are saying. They're like, the track could have been finished on time if everyone had just kept working instead of riding. And it's like, well, part of that riding is testing. So anyone that is in the know should know that you've got to test everything before you move forward. And that's something that we will never change. We'll always do a jump or a straight and we'll test it, because if it doesn't work, then we know straight away that we can adjust it or fix it, not wait to the last minute and then try and track back over everything and fix it up and wreck everything on the way tracking back over. So we had to have a life, and that's what we did. We did our work hours and we put in, and we got heavily involved in the BMX community in Adelaide, and everyone was awesome. Adelaide was a really welcoming place, and it was good. We made it good, because it could have been just work. So yeah.
So as a rider competing at that opener, how was it for you?
If it hadn't rained, it would have been really good. Like, it was, when I first walked in on the Thursday and watching everyone practice on the hard work that's gone into, that was a really good moment. Watching everything actually work. Watching the pros getting, having to actually concentrate and take time, and like even Bodie Turner, I was talking with Bodie, I'm like, how are you finding it? And he's like, I'm just working up to it. And then when he nutted it out, and when I say nutted it out, there was like 3 practice runs, and then he just nailed it, you know what I mean? And he said, it works, it's fine, it's all good. And that was in the dry. And obviously in the wet changed everything. So for me as a rider, I didn't get to give it what I would like to have and, really test it out. But, most of the feedback before everything went down, like I said, there was a couple of, people that, found things a little bit harder, but that was the directive, and that's what we delivered.
So from video, it looked quite spectacular. Just all the footage, photos of everything that sort of came back in those first few days. And it certainly looked challenging. Do you think it sort of set a new standard for tracks here in Australia?
Well, I think that's the idea. So the idea is, we sent one rider to the Olympics, and we've got multiple guys that definitely could compete in the Olympics, you know what I mean? So, like everyone talks about, the USA tracks being a little bit too easy, and, when those guys turn up to the Worlds and stuff, they're not really on the same page like the European guys, and I would probably include Australia in that too. We've got some really, really good riders, quality riders, but unfortunately there is nothing, you've got Sleemans and Shepparton, but, I think everyone, once everyone finally gets over the hysteria of a bit of surface peeling up, they're going to realise that Adelaide's got probably is going to have the best track in Australia, and they're going to have some dominant riders, and they're going to do really well. And unless everyone's getting over there and having a crack at it, and trying to boost BMX up how it should be, instead of, oh my God, that's too scary or that's too hard. It's not there for 40 plus riders. It's there for the young up and coming 16-year-olds that can go down the 8-metre hill and want to go across the world and try and beat everyone. I think it will work. I absolutely do.
I think it speaks volumes that Sam actually said, I definitely could coach people from here.
Definitely.
So I think that means it's world class, and he can create world champions from that.
Well, because everyone that's privy to what was happening, he's looking at it for what it is, not for what happened on that weekend and what it's about. He knows that the turns are going to be asphalted, so that's a problem fixed. He knows that a few minor changes that a few people weren't happy with are going to be made better. The runoff the runoff's going to be made better. So with the runoff and the water, like we put minimal fall on all of every single jump and every single area, so that because it's already deep and tricky enough, you know, we're trying not to make it too deep. So obviously to get that drainage now, we've got to make it deeper, obviously. So unfortunately, it's going to make the jumps even trickier. And that's what we were trying to avoid to do. But now it's going to be bad luck. We need to get water off the track because obviously that surface can't cope with volumes of water. So that's, you know, that's where that's at. But yeah, Sam was very impressed. So for us, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. When it's named after Sam and he knows what's happening in the background and he turns up there and he's like, he was impressed. So that for us, that's a win. So yeah, we've done our job, I think.
All right, I think we'll cut it short there. Any last words you wanted to say before we say goodbye?
I just want people just to have a bit more of an open mind and maybe, you know, let everything settle down, let the boys get back over there and fix the things up that's, you know, like I said, minor, that needs fixing and repairing, and make sure you get over to Adelaide. Don't miss out because you're going to get left behind, basically. Yeah.
I'm definitely keen to get over there myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just the time of the year that sort of kept me away from there. It's just too busy in January, but definitely heading over and looking forward to riding it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually riding it with bitumen and it being dry. So yeah, it'd be good to actually have a proper crack at it and see how it goes. Yeah.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll
Appreciate
catch up
it.
soon.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
See you, mate.